please subscribe and don't forget to press the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload a new video.
You're with us here on a fresh new edition of Trading Hour. I'm Prashant Nair. With me is my colleague Ekta Batra. The market is not doing very much. I mean, it's as flat as they come, actually. There's a half a point change. The high was 10,809. We are at 10,772, which means, I mean, there is about a 40-odd point dip which has happened from the high point of the day. The high basically was right at the open, and from there on, it's basically been coming down quite consistently. Same is the case with the mid-cap index and the small-cap index as well. I mean, the market not really holding on well to any gains that it saw early on. I mean, for 2 days now, global markets, I mean, I shouldn't say full 2 days, but essentially 2 US sessions, markets have been pretty tepid. So we've woken up with nothing great in terms of cues, either positive or negative. I mean, it's almost been like a holding operation, just waiting for cues and decide which way to move. Tomorrow we've got that OPEC meeting sort of starting. I think that is the big one this week, and we'll know where oil moves from here on based on that particular decision. I mean, in terms of sectors up and down, I really can't see anything phenomenal happening. The PSU Bank Index is down about 1.25%, and on the upside, well, I mean, maybe the IT index with a 0.25% gain. That's about it. So extremely quiet. Ekta, morning.
Hi Prashant, morning. Well, I take your point that the markets are absolutely quiet in terms of the indices, but if you look at specific stocks, Reliance Industries, for example, that stock continues to gain in today's trade as well. So fresh 52-week high for that one, or just about close to those levels, up 1.2%. Bajaj Finserv is now over 6,000 rupees for one share. So Bajaj Finserv should come up for you up around 1% for that one. And something like a Tech M, which has seen a huge run this year, continues to see some amount of momentum, so it's up around 1% odd for Tech Mahindra. Just gives you a sense that those stocks are just a select few which continue to see that kind of interest. So Darshan Sukhani joins in to talk about the technicals of the market. So Darshan, hi, morning. Over to you then for the Nifty. Absolutely quiet. So more of a stock-specific call that you're taking today?
Well, yes, the Nifty is flat, but at higher levels it's facing repeated resistance. My own sense is that we are going to slide down slowly and steadily. There is a short trade that opens up in the Nifty if and when the Nifty goes below 10,750. That may not happen, but in case it happens, I think a short sell, which is a positional short, is justified. Stocks are always there to be traded on. Hindustan Zinc is a short sell, an intraday short, but nevertheless a short. Metals are in a downtrend, and that should persist for a few weeks, not just days. ACC is a short. It's amazing how cement is not recovering. Every day we see lower levels in one cement stock or the other. So there are two downside themes, metals and cement, and they continue on the downside. Both are short selling ideas, ACC and Hindustan Zinc. RBL Bank is a buy. RBL Bank is part of the private sector select group, which is a buying opportunity. So primarily two short sells and a buy.
Okay, I mean, look at RBL, which is coming up. Just look at DLF, Sudarshan, if you can, quickly. I mean, it fell to, I think, what, 190 or so. It's coming back a little bit, just a little bit, but 200 plus now.
It is, but there's nothing to suggest that a big move is happening here. This is probably a random intraday move. I don't think real estate is coming into shape anytime soon.
Okay. I think we got some F&O strategies as well. Appreciate you joining in with that, Sudarshan, and we speak with you soon again. We've got CA Rudramurthy with Vajna Investments who's joining in. Rudramurthy, good morning. Great to have you here. What would you trade?
Very good morning, Prashant. For a pure day trade and also for the expiry on Bank Nifty, the move from today's open is not definitely positive. See, for me, Nifty futures is also a sell. This is for a pure day trade call, and Nifty futures can be sold for a target of 10,730 with a stop loss of 10,785 in futures. Similarly, if I see Bank Nifty future, we have seen an open high formation today. On futures, we are seeing open at 26,677 and high is also at 26,677. But we are trading below value area high and below previous day close. And this on market profile chart is very weak for a pure day trade. And I'll be selling Bank Nifty futures too. Look at targets of 26,300 to come today. And once loss of 26,620. And if I have to take a put call, I'll be buying a 26,600 strike price Bank Nifty put option. Again, I'm referring to the expiry of today, the 21st June expiry. One can definitely buy that, currently trading somewhere close to 74, 75. Have a target of 200 rupees, just with a stop loss of 50, which is offering a great risk reward. And specifically look at HDFC Bank. It is very weak, which controls the entire Bank Nifty on expiry. And all PSU banks are very weak for me. Look at Can Bank, look at Union Bank, look at Bank of India, look at PNB. Everything is very weak for me. So I also have a sell call in futures for Canara Bank. Chart looks very negative. Short term, the trend is down. Indicators are looking for targets closer to 250. And one can have a stop loss of 261 for the Can Bank sell call. And I have a final sell call on Union Bank. Again, chart structure is very weak. Both medium as well as short-term trend is poor. And I'm seeing today open interest addition on the negative side. Stock coming down with addition in open interest is definitely not good. Union Bank can also be sold in futures. Look at targets of 85 rupee 30 paise for an intraday trade. Have a stop loss of 88 rupee 10 paise.
Okay, all right, Rizumurthy, we're going to leave it on that note. Thanks very much for joining in and talking to us. So those are some F&O strategies. Like you can see, Reliance Industries at a record high. And I was just looking at the fresh 52-week high or the latest 52-week high for Bajaj Finserv, which stands at around 6,144, 145. So that gives you an indication that it's very close to those levels as well for something like a Bajaj Finserv. We'll take a break now, but before we do that, here is some opinion from Mahesh Patil, who is the Co-Chief Investment Officer at Aditya Birla Sun Life AMC. His take on the markets, and we'll be back.
There has been a significant correction in the small cap and the mid cap space. And for the first time, actually, we are seeing some good opportunities of value emerging in some of the small and mid cap names. Mind you, the market still has some kind of headwinds. We are not in a kind of a major big upturn. So there will be corrections in the market, and mid and small cap sector will remain volatile. So investors should be aware of that. But I think it's a good time to start building a portfolio in the small and mid cap space, say with a 3-year view. The corporate bank side, yeah, clearly we've seen a large amount of recognition of NPAs happened in the recent past, and that has led to an impact on the P&L and the ROEs and the ROAs, which I think will continue for some time. We are seeing recovery in some of the sectors which have been stressed, like steel, and overall growth pickup. I think, I mean, looking at the valuations in some of these corporate banks, I mean, there's a big divergence again in the banking sector, retail banks and the corporate banks. I think there is some a case for some kind of a re-rating over the next 2 to 3 years in some of these corporate banks. I think the domestic pharma industry is looking in a much better shape. We are seeing decent volume growth, and also the regular pricing, because of which is linked to the WPI, is enabling companies to take price increases, and that's more like a stable secular growth story. So overall in the sector, I think it still remains stock specific. I think overall on the infra space, yeah, I think the recent correction has provided a good opportunity in some of these stocks. Valuations have come down to more reasonable levels, and we are seeing a decent pickup in growth in this fiscal year.
Welcome back. Just want to point out Manpasand Beverages, that stock is actually down another 5% today, but they have issued a notice to the exchanges that they are going to have a board meet on the 27th of June. So the stock, as you can see, is actually recovering on the back of that, and this will be to consider the Q4 results, and the report will be from the new auditors, Mehra and Goyal. And in the interim, it's important to note that they are actually getting approved via postal ballot. Remember that the controversy with regards to Manpasand was the abrupt exit of the auditors Deloitte at the end of May. So that seems to probably, or rather the audit report would be probably the most important thing to track on the 27th of June when they come out with numbers. That's next Wednesday.
Exactly. So if you just look at it, I think, is the stock up, or it's okay?
It's actually recovered from the low. It was down 4 to 5% on an intraday basis,
which we're seeing
before this exchange notice came out, and now maybe the street is a little more optimistic that if the audit report should be okay from these new auditors, then maybe it's.
I don't see how this can be negative. I mean, because the stock fell from 450, 460 to 130 rupees. So at least we are going to hear something from one person. I mean, you know, one investor that I spoke to, when I asked him whether he's heard from the company, he said, well, nobody's heard from the company. Not me, not any other investor. So either, so it's like a black box. No one knows whether it's, I mean, there is something really wrong with the company or it's actually absolutely clean and pristine.
So that's exactly the audit statement. Yeah, so the audit statement will be more important than the P&L, I think, because obviously the auditors
whole thing, I mean,
will provide
I think, and after the
clarity.
results are out, we'd be able to maybe hear from the promoter himself, right? Because we've not heard from the promoter. We did speak with, I think...
we have spoken to the management, I think.
But the guy who runs it, I mean, I think we spoke with his son. He's the executive director, I think. But maybe we'll hear from them in clear terms as to what's going on with the company and all that has happened recently. We spoke with Saif Partners as well. They're a big investor in the company. But again, that was in the initial days when this entire saga unraveled pretty quickly over the last 2 or 3 weeks or so. It's spiking as we speak, about 2.5%
and
higher.
And there's always some clarity which is required. If you start getting your act together, if you come out with the numbers, if the audit report says okay and there are no audit issues which are brought up by the new auditors, it always bodes well from a corporate governance point of view.
All I'm saying is that it can't, from those levels, from 130, it can't be negative. But the fact is that, you know, you get a new auditor, the early auditor resigned, and the new auditor comes on board and says, well, everything is okay. Would the market straight away believe it? I doubt it. Unless, of course, there is more efforts to work with shareholders, make them understand and things like that. But, you know, it's extremely, I mean, it basically lost almost 90% of the value. So it's coming up from very beaten down levels on news coming in there. 27th of June, we'll track that closely. Manisha is with us and she's going to wrap up what's happening in the commodity and currency markets. Manisha, morning. What are we talking about?
Thank you for that, Prashant. Well, you know, after the kind of deluge that we have seen in the metal space, China really seems to be now coming back into the market. There are reports from Chinese authorities that they are looking at some policy reforms here to support the space. Of course, the spat with the US has led to a lot of decline in asset classes. And then the Chinese economic data for the month of May, all of that has been less than what the street was expecting. So what China really is saying is that they are looking at some policy measures. They are aiming to reduce the reserve requirement ratio for the banks. They also are pledging credit support for the small firms. There also is a statement about interest income from some loans that, of course, could be exempted by VAT. And apart from that, they also are looking to strengthen policy coordination and hike market confidence. So those are some statements coming in from the Chinese print today in the morning. And that actually has led to some support come back in case of the metal prices. So when you look at the steel prices, those are trading up by 1%. Almost all the metals actually are up 1 to 2% on expectations that China finally would move to strengthen the policy and ensure that the market confidence comes back, and also the kind of concerns that the Chinese markets are working with right now are also, you know, eased off in some sense. Navneet Damani also joins us now with the strategies on that space. Navneet, hi. How are you looking at the metal as a sector and the China trying to push or get in confidence now? Does that also give you confidence to perhaps go long in the metal space today?
Well, good morning, Manisha. We've seen off late metals being beaten down very sharply ever since the second round of trade concerns started. So now we have one round of trade concern from $50 billion tariff from US, then China retaliation, and now yesterday EU reporting some kind of trade tariffs on the US. So all this is leading to some kind of pressure on the base metal pack entirely. But I think prices are a little overdone, and about 7-8% correction in the last 3-4 session is a little too stretched. We might see some recovery of the detail that you mentioned coming from the China press that could support base metals particularly. We would like to buy copper around this level, 455, 456 levels, which stops below 453, targeting 461, 464 on the upside.
Navneet, also, how are you looking at the gold and silver prices? Because very sharp declines here. Gold is trading at a 7-month lows right now with the kind of support that we've seen coming in because of the US dollar. We've broken below 1270 in the global markets. How much of lower levels are you watching here now?
See, gold was pretty much trading in a range for the last 3 months between 1290 and 1340, 1350 levels. Now it's comfortably broken this range. Trade war actually should be a positive trigger for gold, but that's not what we've seen. And also a sharp rally in the dollar index is also putting some pressure on the gold prices. Technically, some key important levels have been broken and the pressure could continue for a while. On the COMEX front, you can expect 1250 in the coming days to come.
Okay, all right, Manisha. Thanks very much for that, and Navneet for sharing your commodity strategies. Just want to point out that now Manpasand is just about sitting with around a 3% gain. So we did see that intraday spike to up around 4%, but now just come off a tad bit, but nonetheless recovered from the day's low. For the Nifty, absolutely flat, and the mid-cap index marginally underperforming, down 0.2%. Take a break, but up next we're going to be discussing market technicals. Mitesh Thakkar will be with us to tell us what he's strategizing.